So, welcome everybody, and thank you to our first installment of Real Estate Unfiltered with Ben Cushing. There's no question when I decided to start this podcast that I wanted to have my first guest be none other than Dan O'Halloran, one of my best friends. And Dan and I have been in the real estate business for quite a long time together and have been through a lot of ups, downs, and trials and tribulations, and a lot of great times as well. So welcome, Dano, and thanks for joining me. I think we've worked out some of the bugs. Dan and I attempted to do this the other day, and I didn't push a couple buttons that I was supposed to that my son told me to do, and I got scolded by my senior in high school son who told me that I was doing the wrong thing. So welcome, Dano. And one of the first things that I'd like to hear from you that other people might find interesting is, how did you really get into this crazy industry?
Yeah, well, for starters, thank you so much for having me, Ben. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited to see your channel here grow, and should be very entertaining with the lineup of speakers you've got coming.
Thank you.
And I'm privileged to kick it off, I guess, too. So real estate got started, got my license at the end of 2005. My father at the time was building houses in the Eastman area. I was selling life insurance and financial planning products, and my dad called me out and told me that I was miserable and I should sell real estate and stop doing what I was doing. And I flat out said, I'm so happy. I love this. This is exactly what I'm meant to do. Total denial to him. And in my head, I was like, oh man, he might be onto something. Thought it over and took the plunge, and got in, and it was probably one of the best decisions I ever made. I'm very happy that I did that. So wasn't easy getting started, but in a small town around in our area in the Sunapee region too, it was hard to gain traction as a young kid at, like, I think I was 24 or something like that. So.
Yeah, so that leads me to my next question that you kind of answered a little bit already is, for someone that's just starting out into this industry, what did you see as one of the hardest things that you kind of had to overcome? And I think you've answered it a little bit, in that for some, and for some it hasn't worked out this way, but for some, if you try to get into the real estate world and you know no one in the area where you're going to attempt to work, it can be really, really hard to get in. And even for someone such as myself who was born and raised in the Lake Sunapee region, it can still be hard. Because all your family and relatives and friends know a bunch of other realtors as well. And, even when you and I worked together, we were competitors in a way, even though we worked in the same office. And, one of the hardest things that I found when I got into the industry, my hardest and toughest competitor was my broker, our dear friend, Paul Linehan. Right? Paul was the previous high school principal of which school that I went to. So everybody knew Paul, and a lot of people knew Ben. And when they thought about it, they're like, oh boy, do I go to Ben or Paul? So for someone just starting out, what did you find, maybe above and beyond that too, was some of the hardest things you had to deal with getting into the industry?
Yeah, so I mean, the hardest part when you get started is you don't know anything, and you don't know what you don't know, right? Today, we're all so fortunate with the availability of information and training that can happen on Zoom, and the accessibility of information has never been easier. So for me, it was learning. So I educated myself on the market as best I could. I got very heavy into stats for our region so that I could confidently talk about median sales price and market trends, because I'm supposed to be able to advise people how to do that. And I just got my license and had never sold a house, so how am I supposed to tell someone what's going on? So I dove into that, and then I really went into, how do I get to know more people? How do I, get to have a conversation with someone about real estate? So I did lots of mailers, did tons of internet advertising between Google AdWords. This is back in 05, 06. Google AdWords, I did, there was a program called Home Gain. I did joint partnerships with lenders to split costs for advertising, all sorts of fun, entertaining things to try to generate some income. And it took a while to gain traction. Absolutely. It ended up working out in the long run, but it was definitely a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and market challenges that were going on and everything like that.
Yeah, as I tell people about you when we chat, Dan was, in my opinion, kind of at the forefront of, I don't want to say he was at the beginning of the internet, but he was at the forefront of internet things, if you will, around the Lake Sunapee region relative to real estate. He was one of the new kids on the block. As I was talking with someone the other day, I remember when we had Colby Real Estate, we had a little small building that was off of the main building, and Dan was in that building by himself with very little heat, no bathroom. It was kind of like he was out there in real estate prison, and we kind of would throw him a piece of bread every once in a while. But Dan was out there, in my opinion, in those really cold, lean years, putting together things that have now garnished where his business is. You were at the forefront of creating what I thought then, and you've used it for many time now, a great website presence. We didn't really know what that stuff was back then. We didn't really talk about median sales price or things like that. We went out and got a listing and you sold it, and that was the end of it. And you were talking about all these weird things that we had never really heard of. And now that is the norm, what people talk about. So you were way ahead of the curve on that. So I applaud you for all the hard work. And Dan, it is really different these days, as you and I well know. You and I talk about this stuff all the time. People that are getting into the industry today think that you jump in, get your license, and you're a millionaire in like a month. And it's kind of easy. That's why everybody's doing it, right? We have the most amount of realtors in the state of New Hampshire. We have 7,800 is how we closed out 2021. I was just talking with our friend Bob Quinn, our CEO at NHAR, the other day about it. And people think it's really easy. It's not. It's not that easy. They don't know what people like you really went through. There was a time, Dano, that you would recall that you and I sat in the office one day and things weren't really going well. We weren't selling a lot of stuff, and you said, Cush, I might need to go get a temporary job. And you were like couple hours away from making that happen, and then all of a sudden something happened and off we went, and things kind of worked out a little bit.
Yeah, it ended up being out okay. I hated saying those words out loud. It was awful.
Hey, we've all been there. We've all been there. We've done that. But you've done a really good job relative to the whole social media internet thing. You were kind of one of the pioneers that started that. That got a lot of people on board that were kind of jealous of you because you were a young guy, you knew the language, you knew what you were supposed to be doing, and that some of us that are a little older than you kind of went, what is this kid talking about? We just run ads in our local print publication and we wait till a buyer shows up 200 days later and we sell it, So congratulations to you, and I think for all that hard work you've done years ago, you are reaping the rewards. So how many years have you been in the industry these days?
Officially 16.
Yep. Wow.
So I'll be 17 this summer. Will be 17 years.
Wow, that's crazy. And Dano has served at all levels. Dan has served at his local level on many different committees, as well as the Sunapee Region Board of Realtors president. Dan has served at the state level on many committees. And he has been our state president in 2019, I believe, and has served at the national level on a number of different committees and continues to do all of the above. What did it take for you, Dan, to get involved at the state level?
So it was, kind of the industry, looking at that whole education side of things, right? Our industry is interesting where we have to compete with each other, but we have to collaborate, right? And I was kind of very thirsty from an education and how things work perspective. So I got asked to join the Sunapee Board of Realtors that started it. And then this was in 2000, 2008, I think it was, around the downturn, and everyone was really diving into learning technology. Jay and Monica McGillicuddy asked me, and they were both state presidents, and they asked me to join a technology task force. And so I was like, okay, sure. I know a little bit about technology and been messing around on the internet and stuff and social media, and back in the beginning stages where like blogging was starting and all that. And they had a video series and a committee talking about how to encourage our members to learn about technology and get started and how to leverage that resource, right, to better connect with people. So that started it, and then it fast forwarded into me being on the communications committee and then being in a president role. But really, when you look at our industry, we help people, buy and sell houses and make great decisions around real estate. It's our ultimate goal for our team is helping people make the best decision possible with their real estate decision and destroying as many inaccurate assumptions as possible. And so to do so, you really need to lean on leverage and like education and understanding what you're doing and being able to be very flexible in different scenarios you find yourself in. So from a daily situation of showing houses, negotiating, doing all that, it's a common track, right? And so to get involved in volunteer leadership was a whole different path that technically you could say doesn't relate to real estate, but makes you a better, well-rounded professional. And so for me, the drive to get involved in local and state association leadership was really to kind of push myself to have a better skill set so that in day-to-day business operations and working with clients, I was well versed and had a little deeper knowledge of, life and education.
Yeah, the other thing that I wanted to mention, Dan and I were both honored to be able to be on the first Leadership Academy at the New Hampshire Association of Realtors in 2016. I'm not sure if those selecting that group of people knew that Dan and I were buddies, but it just worked out that way. And I was psyched to do it with Dan. And I highly suggest if anybody is looking to do things like that you apply. There were 9 of us on that Leadership Academy, and we were lifelong friends for the journey we went together doing that program. And even though Dan and I might have felt that we kind of know enough about real estate, we didn't need to do things like that, we learned a lot about ourselves, about real estate, and going forward. It is an industry, an interesting industry that has its peaks and valleys. Hopefully, more peaks than valleys. If you were going to interview maybe some new people that were thinking about getting into the industry today, what would be a couple of things that you might want to tell them they should probably be doing before they start their journey in real estate? What might some things that might come to mind that you think they should be doing?
Yeah, so before they're getting started, have at least 6 months of savings put aside. It's not like you get your license and instantly you're making money. It's, a closing is 45 to 60 days. It's standard. And so that closing is not immediate, and that scenario doesn't happen right away, right? So it might take months to find the right house for somebody if you're representing a buyer. And with today's competitive market, you could be missing out on multiple offer scenarios. So it could take 3 to 6 months before you get a buyer to have success in a transaction, and that's just starting out. I would also do a lot of research onto your goals in real estate and what are you hoping to accomplish, both financially and quality of life, and what does entering the real estate industry mean to you? The industry's changed a lot. There's teams. Teams are this big popular word. They've been around for years, but teams are, and everyone runs them differently, but a lot of real estate teams are very supportive and collaborative. And so when you get started, instead of being just a number in a big firm and you join a team, you have someone that's going to mentor and guide you and help give business to you to help you grow more quickly than you would if you were on your own. And it's a great way to get started in real estate, and a great way to have someone there supporting and helping you grow and have success. You can definitely go and join plenty of other firms that are out there and be a single individual agent and grow your business and everything like that too. But I would really encourage everyone to really take some serious time in planning about what you want to accomplish, what are your goals for that year, and chunk everything down as best as you can before you quit whatever job you're at and whatever stable income you have.
Yeah, I guess I would concur with that. We see a lot of people watching TV these days and Million Dollar Listing and all these types of TV shows that are showing this very glamorous lifestyle. And some people do very well in this industry. Even here locally, people do very, very well. But it can also be very hard because we have a number of people in the business, and it can be very competitive at times. So you have to be able to have thick skin in this industry as well. What are a couple of things that you might suggest, or that you have seen, that you think agents or people getting into the industry rather should not do right as they become new to this industry?
I think one of the things is, understand that we all have to work together in the business too. So the environment is generally, yes, it's competitive, but it's also collaborative. So the realtor that you're working with on the other side of the transaction is someone that is not someone that you need to be like, oh my God, I have to fight against them to get the sale to happen. You need to be able to collaborate and have a professional collaborating conversation with them about the end goal of getting your client and their client to the same common ground to have success in that transaction. Getting to know other realtors in your market is really, really important. And that was another reason why I got very active in our board and stuff like that, was getting to know other realtors, because it's much easier if you've met somebody and had conversations or been on showings with them or have volunteered with them to talk about, respecting your client's confidentiality, but trying to get the transaction to come together. It's a much better experience than a very kind of cold, aggressive approach. And so I would encourage everyone to really keep an open mind with how you compete and how you collaborate.
One of the words that I've heard Dan say quite a bit today is collaborate, and I think that is so important. That's what we do, right? As realtors, we're all in it together. We're all trying to make a living for ourselves and help our customer and clients. And in a small community, we're going to know some of our realtors rather well. I own my own little real estate company now, and Dano has his. And I guess you could say we're competitors in a roundabout way, even though I don't feel that I compete with Dan. Dan is at a different level than I am, and he owns a business and has a staff and licensees that work for him, and I'm by myself and predominantly do the education thing, but I'll take a listing every once in a while. But if Dan and I are doing a deal together, we get along and we try to make the deal happen. Is it always easy? No, but we will make it happen. And there's a number of realtors, many of which, Dan, used to work with you and I, and we shared offices with them, and we are all in competition together. For me personally, as the owner of a company here in the Lake Sunapee region from years ago, it warms my heart to see not only you and Christina, but others that were working for us and with us, doing so well, getting into leadership roles at the local and state level. It makes me feel pretty good that people are still in it and they remember the great times we all had together. Let me ask you. Okay, so you're going into year 17. I'm in year 25, which is just mind-boggling to me. But it seems like it was 10 years ago. But I almost have a freshman in college now, and Dan has been alongside me when all my guys, both my kids were born. So he's like Uncle Dan to them. What is one of your greatest accomplishments in this industry?
So for me, honestly, it's where our company is at today. The people we're surrounded with. Our team is fantastic. We're like a big family. We support each other in our growth and our planning and what we want to accomplish, and we have as much fun as possible. So for me, it's been just very exciting and super rewarding to be running our company with my wife, Christina. And the two of us have really, when you work with your spouse, it takes some doing to figure out how things work, and we're in like such a great spot. And so being able to take the plunge with her and I running a company together has been incredibly rewarding. And the people that are with us, it's just amazing. And a lot of that rewardingness comes from my experience working for you, Ben, back in the Colby real estate days. And when we were looking at building our company and how we wanted people to feel when they worked with us, was essentially like we're a big family, and like we take care of each other, and we cover a showing for you, or whatever. We don't have a handout for money or anything like that. It's, you can go on vacation, people have your back, you're in a supportive environment for your growth. And that's what I think we've done a really good job with our team. And that's what's made us just very happy and excited about where we're going in the future.
Yeah, I would agree. Knowing you like I do, and knowing your company like I do, I would congratulate you in that you do have that. You have, when I walk into your office, I can sense that kind of family feel that I like. My office, our office back in the day was that feel. It was not a stale environment where you had to go through a layer of four people to get to speak to me or you or any one of our agents. The door was always usually unlocked or open, and the music was going, and people's dogs were there or kids were there, and we all had a good time. We spend almost more time with our fellow realtors in our offices than we do with our family members. So we have to get along. Were there times that were some speed bumps? Sure. But it's just like any type of a relationship. You have to be able to work through them. And I think it made you and I better in dealing with real estate where we are today, and learning how to deal with some of those speed bumps, because that's what you deal with in a real estate transaction. You and I sure know it's never easy in real estate transactions. And I would say it's almost harder these days than it has been in past. And yes, people will say, well, God, you guys list something that goes under agreement automatically. And I say, yeah, that could be true, but that doesn't necessarily mean it closed the next day. There's still hurdles we have to get over, and we have to be able to work through those things. What do you see going on, for 2022? What is if you had a crystal ball, and I know you do, because most of us as real estate agents do have crystal balls, what do we see happening in 2022? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so we're first week of January, so we've got lots of data that we're just starting to pull for last year, and last year really trended exactly like 2019. The difference, at least in the Sunapee region, was that there was a $100,000 difference in median sales price, which is just incredible. So 2020, I look at the year that we can kind of throw out of market data. It's that anomaly. Like our local area increased by over 20, I think it was like 23% growth in real estate transactions. And so that's a huge spike in the middle, and then everything else has now normalized. So when we look at our market, we are having very consistent to 2019's and 2018's transaction numbers. And those were some of the best years in real estate, at least in the Sunapee region. And I know that data is not too far off from where we are statewide. So looking at, the future of this year, I do think that this year is going to be very reminiscent of last year. The change and the opportunity that's there for buyers is interest rates. So there's going to be lots of conversations this year about interest rates and the cost of waiting and not making a decision. And I would encourage anyone listening to this that's looking to buy, really do a deep analysis on rates and figure out that impact. If you're buying real estate for the long term, there is a massive expense of waiting. And if you wait, and you look at like a 30-year mortgage, the interest you pay, run the math between 4.5% and 3.25%, and chart everything out. And if you're working with a realtor, they have tools to help run those numbers for you and help you kind of think about that decision, because that high purchase price might not be so high when you compare it to the monthly payment and the actual cost of a different rate. So I think rate's going to be a driver of our market, and I think we're going to see a flurry of activity in the first half of the year before rates do any kind of movement.
Interesting. Yeah, I agree. I think we're going to see very similar things that we saw in 2021. We've been on a really good trajectory, and hopefully we can keep it going. I know you and I had a conversation, I don't know, maybe a month ago, where we talked about, the average days on market or average hours on market in today's world, back to the day where the Sunapee region's average days on market was one of the highest in the state of New Hampshire. Now, there's many things that skewed that, but we were averaging like 150 days on market for a listing, and today, if it's on for more than 15 hours, you got a problem. So I just say that because I find it comical when new people are getting into the industry. When I tell them that, they're like, what are you talking about, 150 days? I'm like, you have no idea what it was like. Talk to somebody that's been in this industry for more than 10 years, and they'll tell you what it used to be like back in the good old days.
Yeah, 3 to 6 months.
Yep, it was crazy. And, we are seeing a number of people retire from our industry, Dano. We'll finish with this. Not that you and I are going anywhere anytime soon, but Nancy Leroy is retiring. She is a veteran of the real estate industry, and I had a nice chat with her yesterday, and I just wanted to mention that because she's a legend in this industry. And in ending, Dano, first of all, thank you very much for coming on. You've been great as always. I know we're great friends, but I do enjoy chatting with you, and I'm beyond proud of you, my friend. I am. And I was able to chat with your dear friends and mine, Paul and Ann Linehan, the other day, and I mentioned what I was doing, and I told them that I was having you on, and they're so proud of you too. I mean, for you and I, they're like second set of parents, grandparents, whatever you want to call them, and they're really proud of you too. So thank you very much. So Dano, if someone wanted to reach out to you, how can they get a hold of Dano Halloran?
Yeah, so I know you're going to post some contact information in this, but if you look on the screen, bottom left by my name, ohgrp.com will take you to our website. And there's plenty of ways to contact me there, or you can give me a call on my cell, and so on and so forth. But
great. So
our website's a great path.
So we will have some show notes, folks, and all of Dano's contact information will be on our YouTube channel and the podcast. So you can reach out to Dano if you have any real estate related questions or want to talk to him about other things. And Dan is very involved in the community, so there's many other things that he does other than just real estate that you might want to chat with him about going forward. So Dano, congratulations on a great year in 2021 for your group. I know you guys are going to slay it in 2022. Happy New Year to you and Christina, and thanks very much, and we'll talk soon.
Happy New Year. Thanks, Kush.
All right, man. Thank you.